Well, hello, that's me again. Today is January 16th, it is Tuesday, and let's not put things away into the long box, so to speak, and let's get to our goals, so to speak. And we will start with obviously a situation which is I'm giving you not RT even translation, I'm giving you from the source of RIA News, machine translated, that well, Putin talks today to representative of the regional power, so to speak, of Russia, and he basically told about that, you know what, they are stupid. I mean, don't you see they are stupid about Ukraine and Kiev regime? He's talking about lack of desire, which is not lack of desire. It's constitutionally prohibited in Ukraine to negotiate anything with Russia. And so as the result, he talks very directly to what obviously now being discussed very much in the media all around the world, is that if what is going on now, what is happening now continues, and now it is quite obvious, not only has the counteroffensive failed, but the initiative is in the hands of Russian armed forces. If this continues, then Ukrainian statehood can be dealt an irreparable, very serious blow. And this is Mr. Putin saying this. And that means basically, well, you know, Putin, he is very diplomatic. He seldom, goes on some kind of rants like Mr. Biden. Well, rant is kind of not applicable in case of Mr. Biden, but other politicians from the West, they go on and saying stupid things. Mr. Putin is always measured. He is always weighing his words. And that pretty much tells you that Russia has this option to completely finish Ukraine off. Will Russia go for this? I don't know. Again, I'm not, privy to all those things which they decide in Kremlin, but I assume that from the get-go it was clear that such an option was on the table, and it's just a matter of how you approach it. And again, leave it to military and intelligence professionals. Let them do their thing. And the issue here is what my good friend Vladimir Trukhan, the colonel of Russian armed forces and the central apparatus of Ministry of Defense, stated. He uses this phrase, which has a wide, so to speak, circulation within the Russian army and Russian armed forces. And literally it sounds like this: we have been untied from the calendar. That means immediately Russian political top, like it is actually in the West. Instead of saying here are the deadlines, you need to go this and that, from the get-go, from the moment a Russian army entered Ukraine in February 24, 2022, basically Russian armed forces and general staff were given the free hand in terms of the prosecution of their special military operation. So there you go. Russians take their time. And by the way, while at it, I want to immediately address, there are a bunch of trolls, there are a bunch of people, and I've been talking about the informational hygiene for so long now. And there are people who say, oh, you read the Telegram channels. Yes, I read Telegram channels, 3 of them. Okay, I will not tell you one which I know who those people behind this Telegram channel is. They are very professional people, high-ranking people, and that's one channel. And one is the Minister of Defense and of Russian Foreign Ministry. The rest of it I don't read. I don't really follow any Telegram channels, and I mean it. I don't even have Telegram channel app or whatever the name of this thing. I do not allow this crap to just go into my phone. So the point is that people and bunch of trolls and bunch of those people who have, butt hurting, I'm talking about people from the West, and I understand their position and I understand their approach to things, for example, which I say, because they have nothing basically to provide as a valid counter argument. They go into all those comments and they start saying, what's the deal with those IL-22 and A-50 AVAX plane which have been shot down by Ukrainian forces? Let me explain. There was no IL-22, IA-50 shot down by Ukrainian armed forces. It is yet another thing which is being thrown in, another disinformation. Remember the occasion with the recently, a couple of weeks ago, with 3 Su-34 which have been shot down. Never happened. Now, Mr. Peskov, 2 days ago, responding to this question, what about this A-50 and IL-22 being shot down by Ukrainian armed forces? He nonchalantly answers, we don't have any information about it. So the bunch of the amateurs and those armchair generals and fanboys, especially fanboys who actually work or sympathize with the Ukrainian and NATO, because they begin to say, oh, this is not enough, he should have described in detail what happens. Peskov absolutely correctly, as much as I don't like the guy, make no mistake, I abhor Peskov. I don't like the guy in a little bit, and I think so his tenure should be stopped as the spokesperson for Kremlin, but for now he does his job. So, but he is correct when he states that, you know what, direct your questions about it to Ministry of Defense. We don't have any information, and they don't, because if that was the case, that some 2 major aircraft of Russian armed forces of the electronic warfare and the AWACS early warning and battlefield management aircraft had been shut down, that would have been known. And of course, you have all those Telegram channels and all those whores, prostitutes. 99.9% of those Telegram channels and all those, internet analysts and things like that, they are prostitutes. Most of them are amateurs who never served a day in the armed forces. They have zero military background. The only thing they do, they hang around somewhere in the rear of the tactical rear, let alone operational rear of Russian armed forces, collect rumors and then spread them. It applies equally to Russian so-called voyenkurs or voyenkors, what it means, including some of their reporters, quote unquote. I know who real reporters are, and people collect those rumors and they follow and being manipulated. So if something happened, you know what, we will be told. The Russian defense ministry proved itself to be very much, on the course. It might not react immediately, and it's not supposed to. So, were there 2 aircraft shut down? Never heard anything about it, and people do not talk about it anymore because evidently nothing happened. Could it have been that somebody tried to attack them? Oh, absolutely. But I'm sick and tired basically responding to those rumors and propaganda which Kiev regime continues to spew, and you have all those tabloids from, from Britain, from United States reporting on this garbage because they are butthurt. They have been exposed as amateurs, including the NATO militaries, which are amateurs. And so just to demonstrate to you is, here it is. And Russians have this funny thing about the Estonians. It's in a good natured. It's nothing like basically making fun of it. Everybody makes fun of somebody. Russians have a bunch of the jokes about them, and they take them very, lightly. And Estonians are usually a euphemism in Russia for slow people who react, very slow. And some of the Estonians are lovely people, unless, of course, they march in the former SS regiments marches in Tallinn. But most of them are just regular people. They live their lives. But here it is. Evidently, he is Norwegian, right? He is former Prime Minister of Norway. But look at this. Today, Mr. Stoltenberg, who is NATO Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg said that the conflict in Ukraine is becoming a war of attrition. In his opinion, more attention needs to be paid to a sufficient amount of ammunition and spare parts. This conflict is now becoming a war of attrition. This means that now is necessary not only to deploy new systems, but also to think about having enough ammunition, enough spare parts, Stoltenberg said in a statement at Davos. That Bloomberg reports. So it took the guy about a year and a half to figure out finally get the idea that it's a war of attrition. Oh my gosh. These are the guys basically who run the combined West, by the way. And don't give me this garbage here. Yeah, I'm sick and tired about some secret rooms of some real, those octopus, of the one world government. No, we know who they are. We know what they are. We know how they think. Most of them are stupid. I'll give you just one example. Bill Gates never graduated any university. That means he doesn't have systemic education. He basically fell out of the, from the university after the first year and went on his own way, own being in quotation marks, because with his parents, oh my gosh, I could have avoided, going through all those troubles, studying all this stupid, system integration and just targeting all those things which I suffered through in my life. Hey, if I had parents like his. But there you go, most of them like that. As I already stated, even this the top, they're pretty much, that's who they are. They don't understand things, they have no serious education. And just to demonstrate to you, and this is what I have to constantly point out, understand who we are dealing with. Just to underscore how delusional and stupid Stoltenberg is, here's, for example, the new thing, the Bild. Germans, oh my God, look at this. The Bundeswehr is preparing for an armed conflict against Russia. Bild knows this scenario. Plus tens of thousands of German soldiers will be in action. And basically this evident from a secret document. Accordingly, there could be a possible escalation between NATO and Russia as early as this February. It is a practice scenario that step by step outlines months by months how the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin would proceed and how NATO would have to defend itself. Russia, read my lips, as I already stated, Russia has no interest in Europe whatsoever. So much so that today, actually, the European Parliament member from Slovakia, Mr. Radakovsky, look at and Slovakia, unlike Czech Republic, they always had this kind of, positive view of Russians. They are not hostile, they don't hate Russians. And now suddenly they come out and, swinging and say, you know what, we are not a lapdog of NATO and United States. And he says, you know what, Eastern Slavs are sick and tired of killing each other because of the West, so just expect that Slavs will unify and will destroy the Western Europe. So while obviously it's kind of an interesting statement and it's not going to happen, but point is, it tells you pretty much about some very interesting, intentions and moods within the Eastern European communities. So, and this is just one example, but to continue to explain to you how bad this whole thing is, we have also these people. My good friend Larry Johnson, and again, I'm talking, you know what, I don't communicate with the TG channels, I don't have TG channel, I have only my good old school friends, Russian and Americans, who are professionals, okay? It just happened so because, well, just let's put it this way, I'm former professional myself. So, and here's Larry just yesterday expounding on the fact that we talked about it and you know who we are. There are many of us who continue to say it, that Western academics do not understand Russia and its military. The Fabian Hoffman example, and he gives this example, and I agree. They have no clue what they're dealing with. Take any American general, take any American whatever politician, 99.9% cases they will have no clue what they are dealing with. And Larry gives one example because Larry also had it. I mean, and I understand him. Believe me, I live constantly with this thing, and people actually send me things of this nature, which it doesn't irritate me anymore. I learned how to laugh at it. And here's what Larry says, and he explains basically the background of this guy. Fabian Hoffman is a PhD research fellow at the Oslo Nuclear Project. Get this, his PhD research focuses on the proliferation, deployment, and use of non-nuclear strategic weapons, in particular conventional precision strike capabilities and their implications on nuclear strategy and broader nuclear weapons policy. Example goes, nuclear proliferation and disarmament. So basically you begin to kind of already scratch the surface that this is so obscure, this is so many big words that probably he has yet another variation of the political science thesis there. But look at this. This Hoffman, Fabian Hoffman, prior to joining the University of Oslo, worked as a research assistant at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, and he holds an MA in War Studies from King's College London, UK, and BA in International Relations from the University of Groningen. And Larry basically deconstructs a bunch of the sheer idiocy this dude wrote. But look at this. Here's what one of the theses, which is Larry points out: Russia does not plan for the type of large-scale conventional war with NATO that we are currently seeing in Ukraine and for which we are primarily preparing. Already before taking substantial losses on the Ukrainian battlefield, Russia knew that it would be inferior in such a scenario. Okay, the guy is delusional, but look at this again. Keep in mind what he graduated. He graduated London War Studies, whatever the hell name of this institute. Okay, you know what? I do not want to hear any more people from Great Britain. Some of them are absolutely extraordinarily nice people, and I love English culture. You know, I grew up with British, invasion rock and roll and, progressive rock. I love Charles Dickens, so I love Three in the Boat by, Jerome Klapka Jerome, which is like the cult book in the Soviet Union. So it was cult book in the Soviet Union. So, you know what? Classic Britain, even for all its imperial crimes, they produced an outstanding culture, which I love. Sorry guys, it is what it is. I am a Western man, as pretty much most of Russians are, because we are European stock. But here let me show you the man who doesn't mince the words, and he basically yesterday Mr. Colonel Douglas MacGregor, he talks about all this thing with this Swiss guy, and he evidently is famous. And speaking of United Kingdom and its British Army, he doesn't mince the words, and he comes out with the term which you can look up and you can listen to it, and he calls British Armed Forces Lilliputian. You see, he went even further than me. I was talking about their jokes and everything. So what I want to say, if you take anybody, all professor, PhD in operational research, or, whatever, from this War Studies College in England, they would know garbage. They would know nothing about modern warfare. So basically, and that's how they produce this bunch of nincompoops who are completely incompetent, including this bunch of the Lilliputs. I'm sorry, and this is Douglas MacGregor I'm quoting, Lilliputians, from the basically Sandhurst. What do they know? And that's what I'm trying to always convey to the, what Larry and other people point out. The guys probably know how to command a battalion. That's about it. They will not have maneuvering armor brigade deployed until like 2027, if they're lucky. And the question, when you look at this, what the hell do you expect from those people? They live in this confabulated history about how the Anglo-Saxon world, shaped the 20th century, which actually already it did not to a degree. And here is just one thing which I have to point out, and for you to understand how bad it all became for the Europe and for how much they are absolutely delusional. Here it is. As you know that, now United Kingdom and Ukraine, they signed this defense pacts, and this agreement. Under this new bilateral security accord, Kyiv would have to protect London in the face of Russian military attack. Denis Shmyhal has said they're some honcho from Ukrainian, whatever the hell they are. And Shmyhal was referring to the security cooperation agreement that British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak signed with Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky on Friday. The pact stipulates support for Ukraine's future integration into NATO and guarantees prevention and active deterrence of and countermeasures against any military escalation and or a new aggression by the Russian Federation. What can I say? This is all PR, obviously, and when you obviously look at what is happening on the front, by the way, Russians continue their advance, slow, grinding, annihilating each day. There are hundreds and hundreds KIAs on the Ukrainian side, and what can I say? Yeah, I'm sure armed forces of Ukraine can defend London. But again, the point is, what is most insulting for these people, which are most of them are clowns, and make no mistake, clowns can still be dangerous. That is why, for example, the horror movie genre uses clowns very often as the, you know what, funny horror, so to speak. Just look at any recent movies or movies about clowns, which is the whole genre itself. It's the whole direction, so to speak, in the cinematography. And this is exactly what it is. It's clownship, but with the clowns who are evil and who actually do not understand the limitations of their, feeble power. When we talk about Europe, and especially Stoltenberg, talking about that, you know what, we have to do this and that, and just, So let me put it this way. Here's the Eurostat, European Union statistics for 2000, for November 2023. And look what they say. Industrial production in November 2023, percent change compared with November 2022. As you can see yourself in red, underscored is the overall industrial production by European Union, which dropped more than 5.6%. Then when you look across the whole spectrum of the countries which constitute the European Union, this is Eurostat, guys. And look what they say. In the EU, industrial production fell by 8.7% for capital goods, by 8.4% for durable consumer goods, by 5.6% for intermediate goods, and by 3.8% for non-durable consumer goods, while production grew by 1% for energy. And as you can see yourself, Ireland, Belgium are a catastrophe. Bulgaria is not even that important economically. The only thing which grew is the mighty Denmark, with the population of less than the population of the southern district of Moscow. But hey, here it is. That's, Denmark, which grew, Croatia grew, even Sweden grew. But look at this. When you look at Germany down 5+. If you look at Netherlands, my gosh, more than 10% down. And you look across the board, Europe is in a death spiral. European Union is being economically annihilated because most important thing is being destroyed in European Union. And this thing is, of course, industrial production. Nobody cares what your stock market is. It's all garbage. It's basically for the consumption of the feeble-minded people who believe that this reflects real economy. It does not. Real economy is industrial production across the whole spectrum of goods, be them durable, consumer, what have you, food products. And as you can see yourself, European Union is in a death spiral, and it will accelerate. And that's what I'm on the record for many, years now, that European Union is a sacrificial lamb, and Europeans will do what they're supposed to do. They will have to bring themselves on the altar of itself, the declining United States. So, we'll see whatever their choices they make in terms of the political choices. I do not hold my breath, but then again, you know what? I will be very glad to be mistaken. I would love, with great enthusiasm, eat my own hat if suddenly tomorrow Britons wake up and they have their competent government which runs a country properly, has the real normal international relations sector, so to speak, and things of this nature. Same goes for Germany and France and Italy, what have you. I am a Western man. As I already stated, we are people of the Christian civilization, and though the combined West is the post-Christian, there are still many people who understand the tragedy of it. And that's what Larry wrote about. That's what I talk about. That's what Douglas McGregor speaks about. Listen to this wonderful 1.5 hour conversation with this. I don't know the name of the guy, so he's Swiss. And so, if that hasn't been enough, that's basically a demonstration of what you need to know about United Kingdom and why it is really pushing. So, as evidently Telegraph reports 4 days ago, UK aircraft carriers can be sent to Red Sea because of Navy staffing crisis. And so, yeah, that's gonna continue, and yeah, whatever they do, who cares, really? And again, Mr. McGregor already stated everything you need to know. And that brings us to this situation, which is related to this basically industrial demolition of the European Union, and actually what is happening with the United States too. And here it is. Politico reports in December that, Pentagon, US arms industry struggling to keep up with China. A draft copy of new National Defense Industrial Strategy says American companies can't build weapons fast enough to meet global demand. As you can see yourself, it was this 2nd of December last year, which is really not that far away. And yeah, so you have this Pentagon Acquisition Chief William LaPlante saying that things, and the question is, it's not just the fact that Pentagon begins to recognize that they cannot produce the weapons in required quantities. First, those weapons are not designed to fight serious war. They're just not, period. And here we have this interesting number which I want to expand a little bit. And I think so that's an important number because we have this armchair warlord from the X or whatever, Twitter, and he says that the United States has approximately 3,500 Tomahawk missiles on hand. So few that at sea reloading capability is pointless because in the event of the war, United States Navy will actually run out of missiles before it runs out of the launchers. So, and unlike many people, who just make statements absolutely out of the thin air, here he presents the numbers and his analysis is sound. And what he continues to speak about is about Tomahawk numbers, is that there will be nothing to reload silos with in the case of the real war, at least in the immediate term, so including extra equipment to do it at sea would be pointless. As a final aside, given that Tomahawk production since 2021 seems to have been remanufactured rather than new missiles, I have questions about whether the US actually retains the capability to make new missiles of this type. Well, that's a valid question, but the point is that just to demonstrate to you, and you can easily find it, you can go to the propaganda outlet of Kiev regime, and go to the middle May issue of the New Voice of Ukraine. It's, this propaganda outlet probably run by British because that's the only thing they can do. They do PR. And same begins to apply to the US military. But the point is, if you read even then, which was, as you know yourself, now 8 months away, by then Ukraine already stated that it has been attacked by about 8,000 Russian missiles. Okay? Make your own conclusion. And that's why when you, and since then 8 months passed by, and you remember this narrative, and some idiots still continue to do that. It's about that Russia is running out of missiles, and of course out of the kitchen appliances to take those, microchips from. But the point is, after that, Russia only increased the operational tempo and the salvo size and complexity. So, by the end of the active phase of SMO, we will be looking at about 20,000 all kinds of the cruise and high precision weapons, missiles, standoff weapons, which have been launched at Ukraine. So this is beyond the grasp of the US industry. It is not there. The only thing it can hope for is to increase probably a little bit more the production of the 155 millimeter shells. But sure, whatever. Read what Europe is trying to do. They project some things by 2027. So good luck. Good luck supplying this to Ukraine. And the question is, I don't know why Russia would want to basically invade Germany, I mean, or invade Poland. Why? Well, they obviously try to unleash the war. They all try to, corral those fiends, poor people, into their, some kind of hostility with Russia to unleash the war on the European continent. But I want to conclude today with this statement, which I am making statement in one form or another for basically start of the special military operation. Russia will not allow nuclear or any other war in Europe. Period. Because Russia has the escalation dominance, and she has the all means to make United States to come to the realization that it better start negotiating, because there's no negotiation with Ukraine, there's no negotiation with Britain. The only people who can settle it are people in Russia, in Moscow, and people who are probably somewhere in Washington. Obviously, American establishment as it exists today. And Mr. Putin went on it today, on record. Read his statements that basically Mr. Biden and his cabal ended up there by, manufacturing the elections. They falsified results. Not me, Mr. Putin. It's all reported all over the world. So, I mean, and the guy knows a thing or two about that. But then again, of course, Russians have to interfere with American elections and, crush American democracy. So, there you go. This is what I wanted to tell you today, guys. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford it, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee or two. And this is everything I needed to tell you today. And I'll talk to you later, guys. Have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.